Well, we're looking for 70% of our money is going towards streets, 30% going toward infrastructure projects. We have a fire station that needs to be built in the future. We will upgrade our parks or trails with some of this money. The skateboard park is closed here. We're looking to build one there. Some uptown projects we need to do. I want to reiterate that if we don't do this street business, we've been building roads for over 50 years, and we've been building a lot of roads, new roads, increasing the boundaries of the city. And so over the past, it's very hard to resurface these, to upgrade these streets. Now we're trying to do it all at once. We're always behind, the state's way behind on the bridges. We're the same thing with our streets. So if we had to do this all at one time, we would have to bond, and that would increase the property taxes, the fixed income people. Where this 1% is already in place, it's very easy to continue this. I know we have our naysayers that will vote against this and have their reasons, but our reasons are to complete the infrastructure for the sewer, surface water runoff, all these things that we really need to do. So, Lon, would you like to step forward? Which one's possible?
Yeah, the thing that I would like to address is one of the things that Marion did that was unique during the last election is we put together a draft spending plan for what we were going to use the money for over the 5-year period. And one of the things that we will be putting out to the public over the next couple of weeks, assuming the election moves forward, is that we'll show you that we have spent that money on exactly what we said we were going to spend it on. And we hope that the public will appreciate that and have confidence that when we put the draft spending plan out for the next extension of the local option sales tax, that you can have confidence that that's where the money will go.
Next, I'd like to bring up Mayor Cullis from Robbins. Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor Corbett. Robbins receives approximately $400,000 for this sales tax, and why it's a fair distribution of money is that all the small towns within the county receive a portion of this. It's not like Cedar Rapids can take it away. It's sold out to each of the communities. So places like Ely, Central City, Center Point get a distribution of the money. Robbins uses their portion of the money for infrastructure. Our roads are in pretty good shape, but we've got a massive sewer bill. We're the furthest away on the trunk line of the sewer, and so we'll use the money for infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Next, I'd like to bring up Councilman Chris Julich. He's a CPA, and he wants to talk a little bit about the current way we finance our streets versus this proposed way. Chris?
Thank you, Mayor. One of the issues that I talk about in my district meetings when people bring up streets is to try to put some context to the magnitude of the issue that we're dealing with. Certainly citizens drive on these streets and they can see that we have deteriorated streets, but they don't always understand the magnitude of the dollars associated with this. And so, because that's the way I operate, I looked at the dollar aspects of this and said, okay, what are we looking at? Staff was very good about giving me the information that I could use to analyze the situation. To put the magnitude, we've got about 630 streets, 630 miles of streets in the city. 15% of those are considered poor condition, and 19% are considered in fair condition. To put in perspective how many dollars that would take, we should be replacing approximately 12 to 16 miles every year. That equates to somewhere around $30 to $35 million. This is a $300 million problem that we're dealing with. And to pay for it through property taxes simply is not something that most political bodies are going to do. In fact, I look back 17 years, over the past 17 years, we've averaged $4.5 million that we've bonded for streets. 30 million is what at a minimum what we need, and we've been putting $4.5 million to it. You can see that we're making no headway, in fact, losing ground. And I think it's important for citizens to understand that in order to make headway, we've got to look at a different model to be able to fund that. The magnitude of the problem is such that it's just not going to happen through property taxes in a reasonable period of time. Using bonds to pay for that costs us additional significant amount of money through interest costs. So not only are we paying additional property taxes to cover the bond, but we're also paying property taxes to fund the streets. And we just aren't making headway. Now, we've increased that $4.5 million since the change in forward government, but it's still not dramatically making an impact on what is really a $300 to $500 million problem. And just to be clear, set expectations appropriately, $300 million, that's, between $250 and $300 million might be what we would generate from this tax. That still doesn't make everything perfect, but it sure makes a big dent in it. And I think it's important that we look at the actual data that says, here's how much it's going to take, so that we can frame that up and put it in context of, local option sales tax will be helpful, but we still will have work to be done even beyond that.
Thank you, Chris. And then I'll recognize Councilman Justin Seals, and I'll come up for a recap. And Justin's going to talk about the inefficiencies of our current system versus the efficiency of a new way.
Thank you, Mayor Corbett. I've said many times, by far, probably the most comments I get from people in my district, and not just southwest side, I get calls from all across the city. People are upset about the conditions of their street. It's not a new thing. I've been on the council. I'll be completing my 8th year shortly, and it's been that way all 8 years. It never gets any better. It gets worse. So a lot of times people have to talk about efficiencies and inefficiencies. Is it efficient just to go out and patch holes that don't last for maybe months, or if you're lucky, then you go back out and you patch the patch? So we're constantly doing that, and the next year after the winter season, we have the same holes that are there from last year. So we never get to the root problem, being the underbody of the roads. So we can't fix anything the way it should be fixed to fix the problem on a permanent type basis. So we just keep throwing good money after bad, really. So this will be certainly a way to stop a great deal of that. So as we look at inefficiencies, this is certainly one of them. So I would hope, I know the drum beats are already starting about all the comments that the city council just wants to use this for flood protection, whole pyramid of things that are just not true. We've talked about streets for years and how to get them repaired in an efficient manner. So I would hope that the general public in Cedar Rapids has heard enough of the other stuff for a while, and will take a good, strong look at this, and if they do that, I'm sure they will draw the right conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. So in summary, we have this problem of deteriorating streets and then some of the other jurisdictions related to infrastructure. Problem's been around for a while. There haven't been very many solutions to address that problem. Today, your local elected leaders from every jurisdiction, mayors and council, are standing united to propose a solution to that problem, and that is to keep the penny. It's not a new tax, it's just keeping the penny that we have. And in Cedar Rapids' case, we would dedicate 100% of the resources towards streets, 100%, taking the burden off property taxes and reducing our need to borrow for street costs. I think this idea has a lot of merit, as everyone is standing here also feels that way. And over the next 100 or plus days, we're going to call for the election on November of this year, so there won't be a special election, there won't be the cost of a special election. But I would hope that over the next 100+ days that we could have an honest, authentic discussion about the problem. I don't know that there's much debate that our streets need to be repaired. There may be some discussion on the best solution. But this idea has merit. It shouldn't just sink like a stone. So it's my hope over the next 100 days, and I'll be out there as the rest of the council and the other mayors and councils communicating with the citizens of the metro, and hopefully they'll put their stamp of approval on this plan. Thank you. We open up to any questions, or we can have individual interviews. Yes.
How about the first local option sales tax? Are you guys going to help the people rebuild their homes, demolish homes, finish their houses?
Yeah, the question is on the first local option sales tax. That's not the first, but the current tax that's in place. Yes, that's going exclusively 100% for flood recovery, and one of the largest programs that the council implemented was the home improvement program that helped both homeowners and landlords.
When are we going to be able to use it?
It's being drawn down every day, AJ.
Mayor, do you feel like you have enough money to pay for the city's part of flood protection?
In the future, we hope to be successful with the federal government passing word and authorizing flood protection for the east side, and our staff is diligently working right now on an application to the state, and we hope that the state will help us on flood protection. And that issue isn't going away. We're going to continue to have flood protection as a top priority in Cedar Rapids. But the issue of streets, Robin, is why we're here today. Cities have to address many different issues. Sometimes it's flood protection, sometimes it's crime, sometimes it's streets, sometimes it's some other type of infrastructure. And the citizens of this community have spoken loudly to the elected officials to do something about our streets. Today we're proposing a plan to get that done, and we hope that the voters will give it strong consideration and support keeping the penny.
It's inevitable that some voters are going to want a lot of specifics on what you're going to do with the money. How specific are you going to get with your plan?
Well, we'll have a priority. We have a priority list of our streets. There's well over 100 streets on that priority list. It doesn't take a citizen very long to drive around the community, and they'll see that there's street concerns in every quadrant of our community. And the great thing about local government is each one of these local jurisdictions, through their mayor and council, will put their list of their specific projects. So yeah, we'll have that on our website of the different streets that are going to be a priority. Rick?
10 years, is that correct?
Yeah, we're asking to keep the penny for 10 years. And when we scheduled right now to expire on June 30th, 2014, we would just ask voters to keep it for another 10 years and dedicate 100% of the streets.
I think one of the issues, the first time the city did this, in May of 11, when half was for flood protection, half for streets, was it going to fix streets or build new streets? Will you be able, or are you going to do both, just do one?
Well, there'll be both. Some streets need major repair and will be completely torn up. You see that around town on some specific streets. Some streets will have asphalt overlay, and our Public Works Department will list all the different streets and the specific needs of that street.
Building new streets, building, say, an extension of Edgewood Road.
We're going to be focusing on the repair and the reconstruction of existing streets.
I mean, this has gone before voters twice already, and it's been voted down twice. Is there, have you or any of the other councilors or any of the other mayors here, have you received any indication that, I mean, that you have a chance to get it passed this time? I mean, is there going to be a different approach to talking to voters?
Well, we do know this. We do know that the citizens speak very loudly as they're concerned about streets in our community. It's the #1 issue that I get feedback on as I'm out and about the community. So it's a top issue. Certainly it's an issue in our state. The governor and the legislature have grappled with it. A recent report just came out that said Iowa had the second or third worst bridges in the country. We're not unique. Waterloo's dealing with it, Davenport's dealing with it, Dubuque's dealing with it. This is an option for our voters. If they say no, then we can continue to do it the way we're doing it now, which is placing the burden on property taxpayers, borrowing money, obligating that debt for 20 years, again, placing the burden on property taxpayers. Or we can do it a different way, and we can use the sales tax, the penny, which is a better way, frankly, and actually a fairer way, because in a metro community like ours, we have a lot of people from outside of Cedar Rapids that come into our town and drive on our streets, but all the cost of those streets is exclusively on the property taxpayers of Cedar Rapids. So I think when if people take some time and educate themselves on the issue, I think they'll look favorably on this. I think the idea has a lot of merit. John?
Well, it's obvious to me that you've been doing a lot of good thinking about this. This is a problem that's been around for a long time, as you said. Having been involved with streets for 12 years, I know that we need the help, and to me, getting the whole council together, getting all the other councils together, this is the best way we can go. So I certainly support your idea and your plan.
Any other questions? Rick, you got one more?
Mayor, why? I mean, it seems to me people come out here and they'll say you guys are a bunch of bums. All you want to do is raise taxes. But really, this is just giving. Is it not really just giving voters a chance to decide what if they want to fund streets this way? Why do you care if, in some senses, if it wins or loses? You're just giving them an option, or are you just trying to raise taxes?
Well, first of all, this is, we're not asking to raise taxes. We're just asking to keep the penny that we already have, so it's not a new tax. It's just an existing tax. You know, the people that stand behind me, they don't get into this elected official business for making the money. They believe in their communities. They love their communities. That's why they're serving their communities. So they're on the front lines, and they see on a daily basis the conflict of having deteriorating streets and infrastructure. We're trying to come up with solutions to solve that. Well, I think it shows leadership on their part to be willing to stand up here and say, we agree there's a problem, and here's a solution to the problem.
So what's this campaign look like? I mean, you put this on the ballot, you have a list of streets on the website, and you just tell voters, there it is, to, educate yourselves and vote how you want, or how do you convince them?
Well, as you know, every ballot initiative has various levels of interest by the community, and there'll be this ballot initiative will have probably your company that you work for will probably do a lot of research on this issue. You'll probably look to see Waterloo has the sales tax for streets. You'll probably interview the mayor of Waterloo and the council members of Waterloo. You'll probably interview the citizens of Waterloo and Black Hawk County, and you'll probably hear back from those interviews how beneficial the sales tax has been in Black Hawk County and in Waterloo, and how Waterloo has to stop, doesn't have to borrow anymore to pay for their streets. So I'm sure that your media company will do some investigation and find out that this indeed is a very plausible solution to our problem.
But I'm wondering if there's going to be a campaign with a committee that raises money, runs advertising.
I'm sure there'll be people that will step up and run some type of a campaign, yes. Just as I'm sure there'll be people that organize and advocate against.
Mayor, could you do some math for us here? Councilman Julich said that we need $35 million a year. My recollection is that the present one penny has been raising about 17, 18 million for Cedar Rapids. So what are we going to do with that gap in there?
Yeah, the question is how much we raise from the sales tax. Well, we raise about 17, 18 million, but we also see this as a growing revenue source because Cedar Rapids metro area really is becoming an urban hub. So I think that revenue will grow. Also, Robin, we get about $11 million a year from the road use tax fund to help us in our street and infrastructure issue related to streets. That revenue has been flat. Back in 1998, it brought into the city of Cedar Rapids about $10.5 million. So you can see the revenue hasn't grown over the last 15 years, which is one of the problems. The cost to repair streets, whether it's material cost, labor cost, that has gone up, and the revenue source from the state hasn't, as Councilman Julick articulated very well. We get further and further and further behind.
So that's 27, 28 million, and are you going to continue to put the $4.5 million that you've been putting into it to add on top of that?
Yeah, I think we would eliminate the borrowing for streets and not have debt going to on the property taxes. And listen, Robin, this problem didn't occur overnight. As we have a former streets commissioner say he dealt with it for 12 years when he was on the council. He's been removed from the council for 8 years. So it's been going on for 20 years. We need to start making progress on this, and this is a giant step towards making some significant improvements in our streets. And people live it and see it every day. I hear oftentimes I had to get my car realigned because of the pothole that I drove through. I hear that often. And just the overall curb appeal of your community and your house. One of these days you're going to want to sell your house or buy a house. You're going to want that house located on a street that is nice and smooth.
Sarah, so a lot of cities have been concerned about rent tax, property tax bills. Is this a lot of sales tax possibly a way to make up the difference here in Cedar Rapids?
That's not a motivating factor on this specific issue. This issue is something the citizens have continued to express to myself and all the elected officials for many years. We need to fix our streets. This is a solution that we're putting forward that we think is much better than how we're funding our streets today.